When I first heard Love Hangover, I didn't like it much, but after a few listens while making this video, it actually grew on me. I think it's a pretty good track. With her recent releases, Jennie has been getting a lot more respect, and there's clearly been a shift in how people perceive her. But I also noticed something that's been happening not just with Jennie, but with all the Blackpink members, and I want to talk about it. While reading what people think about this track, I kept seeing the same pattern. For example, one comment said, "All the Blackpink girls' identities now revolve around men." And this isn't the only one. There are plenty of similar comments out there. Every time a Blackpink member releases music, there are always certain fans or netizens who engage in narrative hijacking, or in other words, attention misdirection. Instead of focusing on the actual music, they shift the conversation to something else, usually something controversial or gossip-worthy, which often leads to unnecessary hate. This happens a lot in K-pop and the music industry in general, where the song itself takes a back seat, and the focus shifts to things like the music video actors, collaborators, styling, or even unrelated drama. I want to dive into this in more detail. I remember making a video about how we need more artists in the industry rather than just idols. And I mentioned something Jennie said in an interview, how she spent years training to be an idol, but now wants to focus on being an artist. And this isn't just about Jennie. We can say the same for many other idols in the industry. For years, every time the Grammys happen, I always see comments like, "K-pop idols got snubbed at the Grammys," or "This group was robbed." But we often forget that the Grammys and the Western music industry have different standards. Sometimes K-pop doesn't meet those standards when it comes to artistry, which is a hard pill to swallow. Why K-pop doesn't always fit Grammy standards? There are many reasons, like creative control. Grammys favor artists who write, produce, and creatively lead their music. While some K-pop idols do this, many don't have full control over their work. K-pop performance-driven with heavy focus on choreography, visuals, and concepts. Western music is more focused on individual artistry and musical experimentation. And while Latin and global music have gained recognition, K-pop still faces a bias in Western institutions that see it as a trend rather than a serious genre. And that is the truth. There is huge language barrier and K-pop is big in itself. But as compared to the others, it's still developing industry. And Grammys tend to celebrate individual artistry, while K-pop is built on groups. Even BTS, the biggest K-pop act, only got a nomination for Best Pop Duo. Group performance rather than a major category, there is progress. Like in VMA Awards, but still K-pop needs to make changes in itself too before going global. Anyways, moving on, almost all the Blackpink girls are trying to get more involved in their work and use their creative and artistic skills. More at least, that seems to be their goal. If we look at Jennie's recent releases, Zen and Love Hangover, both have been well received by K-pop fans. Zen in particular dropped unexpectedly and made a huge impact. Not many artists, especially at Jennie's level, release music without any prior notice, so it was a great surprise. The song and music video were also a win for fans who were disappointed with Mantra, her October comeback. Mantra was very Jennie, something you'd expect from her, but it didn't sit well with critics who wanted something more interesting. In my opinion, Zen is the most interesting Blackpink-related music I've heard in years. Over the years, I've noticed that people don't actually talk about Jennie's music as much as they talk about everything surrounding Jennie. She's put out solid songs, but the conversation always revolves around something else. Whether it's her lazy controversy, her stage performances, her smoking incident, or her dating life. All of these things dominate discussions, while her music always comes second. If you look at her discography, whether it's solo, You and Me, her collabs like One of the Girls or Spot with Zico, her songs have been well received by critics. But there's always an external factor overshadowing her actual work. With Love Hangover, instead of focusing on the song, people were more fixated on the male actors in the MV and the fact that Dominic Fike was featured. The same thing happened with SAPT. People were more interested in the Bruno Mars connection than the music itself. Some even went as far as saying he saved her album, which is ridiculous because he was only involved in a fraction of it. I've talked about this before, and I even showed receipts proving that his role was minimal. But people still want to push the idea that their identities revolve around men. And Lisa, she gets it the worst. Nowadays, every opportunity she gets is credited to her rich boyfriend, as if she hasn't worked her way to the top through her own talent and hard work. We've seen her grind for years, and yet people still try to undermine her success. This is nothing but arrogance on the part of netizens. Saying that their identities now revolve around men is so degrading. And then there's this whole discussion about what race of men they're interacting with. which just makes it even worse. This is something that always makes me sad when it comes to Jennie. She started her K-pop journey even before her official debut, and from the very beginning, there were hate-driven forces working against her. When she appeared in G-Dragon's music video, all hell broke loose. Why did she get the opportunity? Then she made her solo debut with Solo, proving herself as an engaging performer, equally skilled as a vocalist and rapper. The song was a massive success. But was that the conversation? No. Instead, the focus was on her dating rumors with Kai and G-Dragon, followed by the lazy controversy that haunted her for years. Then came 2019, one of the worst years for K-pop fans, Burning Sun. Extreme bullying cases, the tragic passing of idols. There was a moment of realization for many fans, and they decided to move on from the Jennie Lazy scandal. When Born Pink was released, we saw her getting praise again. But then came You and Me and her appearance on The Idol, which suddenly became the new reason to hate her even though the song itself was well received. Then she had collabs with The Weeknd on One of the Girls and Zico on Spot, which, in my opinion, is one of the best BLACKPINK solo collabs. But somehow, the discussion always shifts to something negative. And if there's nothing negative, people make something up just to bash her. Last year, after a long wait, we got Mantra. It was met with a lot of criticism, and to some extent, I think that criticism was fair. Based on my observations, this was the first time a song of hers received this much critique. But now, in 2024, with Zen and Love Hangover, we're finally seeing everything fall into place. The music is good, critics are happy, and Jennie is experimenting and finding her own style, something she's always wanted to do. This time, Jennie didn't give them any reason to shift the narrative against her. And yet, here we are again, with people trying to stir up drama by saying BLACKPINK girls' identities revolve around men. It's so unnecessary. Honestly, I have this fear that when Jennie drops her album next month, and we see all these collaborations with Western artists, this is going to become the main topic of discussion. Just like how Rose's album was overshadowed by the Bruno Mars discourse. I worry that Jennie will face the same unfair credit distribution. But I also hope this album lets us see her identity, who she is as an artist, rather than the collaborations becoming the main focus. Too many collaborations can also blur Jennie's identity as a solo artist. While she's already a member of BLACKPINK, this is her opportunity to define herself outside of the group. And too many features might cause fans to focus more on the guests rather than Jennie's own artistry. And when you collaborate with big names, there's often an expectation that those collaborations will carry a significant portion of the success. If the songs don't live up to that expectation, it could hurt her image or the album's reception, even if the rest of the project is strong. In summary, it's a delicate balancing act. Collaborations can help, but Jennie needs to ensure that her own voice as an artist is heard loud and clear. If she can do that, I think this album has the potential to be something really impactful for her career.